Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Fears 2 replaycast. And this time, as you can see, we are on 2v2. C Blanco as the Soviets plus Carrion, also Soviets, versus Kirov as the OKW and Nogano also as the OKW. Don't remember the name of this map. Is it like what, Schulberg Outskirts? Yes, Schulberg Outskirts. So I did remember the name of the map in the end. And yeah, the map is the one with all the buildings near the important points, which makes it kind of annoying to play sometimes. So lots of important points that are covered by buildings, lots of negative cover along the roads, but nothing really too spectacularly strange on the map. We already see some Storm Pioneers going in and capturing the center end of the map, just building hopping, and I'm not sure what they're going to try to do. They're in a pretty isolated position right now from the rest of the German forces. As you can see, we have the closest unit being the Volksgrenadier, and all the other ones are just moving across. And yeah, pretty much there's some weird banter going on in the chat. I've not been paying attention to it, but if you have, well, I'm sad for you. We have the engineers just doing a little bit of probing, and they see the Sturm piles, but of course they're going to be waiting out for the clown car to come out, and the clown car with the flamethrower is going to be able to deal with the OKW just fine. However, for now, Karen is going to have to take stock and just have his penals just doing a little tiny bit of harassment every once in a while. It seems like the Germans are really getting ahead when it comes to the map control, which is quite surprising when it comes to map control because they're facing the Soviets. But of course, again, this is the double tier 1 for the Soviets, so nothing really too strange, and lots of penals are going to be coming out, and there we are. So the penals managed to get into the church. Absolutely no respect for these two guys, and they're gonna absolutely murder everyone. Although there's a lot of buildings in this a lot of windows in this building. So as you can see, the Volksgrenadiers and the Sturmhaus are going to be able to get quite a lot of rifles to bear on the penals, and the penals can only get one rifle to bear on them from the tower. It's also a clipping weird issue. Anyway, so we have this clown car coming in, and Scout car not in the best position, and with no flamethrower on these engineers, it's only going to be essentially a bit of a ruse to try to get the enemy to retreat, fearing the clown car. But of course, there's no flamethrower, and it seems like Nogano knows this, so he's just going to sit there with the rifles and murder the clown car, all the way down to basically 50%, no, 40% HP. Of course, that's the advantage of having the combat engineers. They can just hop out and repair. In the south, we have a very, very, very nice push coming in from Kirov, and he has most of the area under his control, and he's gonna be able to push back those penals back all the way to there they came from. And there's also another penal squad, which is not gonna be able to do too much. There's way too much Germany in this area. They're gonna have to retreat very, very soon. Right now, there's also a bit of a push going on around north, but the Axis seem to be in control of this area as well, mostly. So overall, the Scout car is upgrading the flamethrower, and that's going to be very, very important to turn this back around in the favor of the Allies. Right now, the Axis have a pretty good advantage, and here comes the Flamer. I'm not sure why he didn't just stay here and burn these Volksgrenadiers out of the building, which would have been a very nice thing. Of course, he's trying to come up top to kill the Kielwagen and the Sturm Pioneers. But in the meantime, we have a huge flank coming in from Kirov. We have 2 squads plus a Sturm Pioneer going to be able to capture some points. And there's a couple of infantry units, as you can see, that are coming in. So there we are. The penals are going to throw a satchel charge on the Kielwagen. That might be a bit of a waste of munitions. And that leaves the Scout car free to chase down the Sturm Pioneers. The Sturm Pioneers trying to retreat to get to safety, but they're in a very, very unfortunate situation. They have one model retreating in front of the the clown car's machine gun, and then another one, of course, in the back was getting blasted by the flamethrower. So overall, not very good, but we do have the battle group headquarters being upgraded by Nogano, so he does have the Panzerfaust. So with the Panzerfaust, he gets a bit of a damage engine off on the Scout car, but tries to get in close to get a second Panzerfaust. This is definitely not the best decision he has ever made in his life, as you can see. With the cover of that flamethrower and these penals, these guys are going to have to retreat very, very quickly if they don't want to burn. In the meantime, we have a bit of a German push in the north. I'm not sure what these guys are trying to do. Do they have Panzerfaust? No, they don't have. They're about to. So we have a mechanized regiment coming in from Kirov. So pretty good that we have one mechanized regiment and one battle group headquarters. So we have more options on the field for the Germans. Carrion has selected NKVD Rifle Disruption. Really now? I haven't seen this doctrine in a long time. Anyway, these engineers are in a bad way, but they've managed to escape. Overall, yeah, the map control is still very much in the favor of Germany. And the Allies are going to need to do a bit of a counter-offensive, trying to capture some points and holding them for their own. At this point, if they just kind of let this happen, the results are going to be something like this. As you can see, double basically the fuel income for the Germans than the Allies. They don't want that to happen because, of course, this is OKW. Well, you don't want it to happen to anybody, but OKW can get the Lukes fairly early on. It's gonna come out at like 6.5 minutes, which is pretty ridiculous for a light tank, essentially, because it's a light tank, and it's gonna be a bit of a mess to deal with. I don't see how. Well, maybe this way. So Carrion going for some mines and a support weapons campaign. Yeah, very wise to do both of those things, in my opinion. He's going to have some cover against any kind of weird rush vehicle with the mines, especially if they're positioned in more areas than just this one. Not sure if there's any more mines on the field. Probably not. But if he gets time and administrations to get some more mines around, that's going to be very good. And this is, of course, good for C. Blanco as well. If he can get some mines around, that's going to be also much more safe for him. And of course, with the support weapons Campania back tech, he's going to be able to go with the field gun. But we have a surprise move. C. Blanco picking the urban defense tactics and went for the forward HQ on the church. So this is going to be potentially quite dangerous for the Germans. It could also potentially be a very big waste for the Allies. So of course this is going to provide a defensive bonus plus the medic squad of Squad of Doom to heal up nearby troops, and they can reinforce. And that's all fine and dandy. The problem is sometimes you just have to think about whether or not this is worth it. I mean, if the Lukes comes in, there's absolutely nothing that the Allies can do to defend against it, even with the forward HQ. So overall, not the best situation to be in for this forward HQ. Forward HQ can be destroyed by incendiary grenades, lots of them, but yeah, they can be destroyed by incendiary grenades. Of course, there's not quite a lot of munitions around for the Germans, so that's that. And the Lukes is just kind of terrorizing the penals in the center. There is a 45mm AT gun, which isn't going to be useful at all against the Lukes, even. Oh, actually, we have a Panzer. I saw a Panzerfaust coming in, so we do have a grenade assault. That's okay. Oh, it's a Rakenwerfer. So Rakenwerfer isn't doing a lot to the church. In the south, we had Carrion trying to capture some points, but he's going to get forced away by the Lukes. Looks like the mine took out the Cube Wagon, so not the best kill, considering the Lukes comes around and harasses the engineers. Yeah, just a bit of a fight over the center. Of course, thanks to the defensive bonus of the forward HQ, we have the Allies getting a very nice resistance off, and now they're starting to finally get some Pinos with the PTRSs. So the Pinos with the PTRSs aren't going to be the best against the Lukes, but they're going to be better than nothing, and they can defend the forward HQ quite well. And of course, just the sheer amount of allied infantry in the area, plus the fact that there's now a real AT gun on the field, this is 76mm, is going to be enough to force the Germans away from the church area. Now, from this, the Allies really need to capitalize on the fact that they now can go for some of these VPs. Right now, their VP situation is very low. There goes a nice grenade off on the engineers, and there they go. The Penals can steal the flamethrower for themselves, though, so it's not the worst possible outcome. Yeah, they need to capture some of these points. They have the south, looks like, fairly firmly held, and they can even go ahead and try to push for the mechanized regiment headquarters if they can position their AT guns correctly with some cover in the rear. They also have a mortar coming in. Of course, with this doctrine, you have radio intercept, so Carrion right now does know what the Germans are planning and they're getting. So, for example, If we had a unit purchase right now, he would be notified. He also has rapid conscription for later, which is going to pretty much replenish all of his infantry forces in case a tough fight goes down. And then he has the Iltu Sturmovik attacks and the Fear Propaganda Artillery. So very munitions-intensive doctrine. And right now, it looks like, yeah, he's trying kind of to stockpile for it, but he also needed to build some of those mines. So not exactly sporting the biggest cache of munitions in the earth. And of course, as I thought, this AT gun is in perfect position to take out the mechanized regiment. There it goes. Also with the repair automatrons coming along with it. So no more free repair for the Axis in the area, and no more Stukas, Luxes, Pumas. Especially the Stukas would be the bad portion, because a Stuka to counter all of this, you know, allied turtling would be so good right now for the Axis, and the fact that there isn't one, or there isn't gonna be one even on the field, is quite a detrimental thing. Right now we have also a bit of a push for the battle group quarters. Looks like we have a ton of Penals pushing along, and they can use their, of course, forward HQ position to reinforce and heal up, and then continue to put up some pressure on the battle group headquarters. Of course, thanks to the help of the mortar. This is why you go ahead and backtech to tier 2. Not only the AT guns, but the mortars and the MGs, all of them are very useful. However, the sort of flip side is that the Germans, as you can see, are taking pretty much control over the north without any opposition from the Allies, because they're all focused along the center and the south. However, this focus has been very effective so far. As you can see, tons of casualties going down in the German troops, also a Pino spot going down, so a bit of a micromanagement from C. Blanco. He does have the incendiary artillery barrage. He could have used it on the battle group headquarters, but he preferred to just use the AT guns to destroy it. So both of the Germans, I guess you could say, forward reinforcement structure is going down, whereas the Allied one still stands, and proud, you know, the church being turned into the Soviet HQ, is still very much intact. So the Axis are going to need to try to find something, some kind of mechanism to disable this structure by destroying it. And, well, I don't really see right now what that could be. I mean, they don't have their battle group headquarters, so no support guns. They don't have their mechanized regiment headquarters, so no Stukas. They do have their Schwer Panzer headquarters, and what they have selected is breakthrough and special operations. It's kind of a shame that they didn't pick elite armor, because Sturmtiger would be so good against this kind of playstyle. So overall, the Allies are on the resurgence. The Command Panther is going to be coming along soon enough by Kirov, I'm guessing, because he doesn't even bother to rebuild his mechanized or build a Schwer Panzer headquarters. So overall, Kirov not in the best position. He's gonna wait to go for the Command Panther, which is fine. It's a pretty good unit, but you know, it's got troubles dealing with infantry. And Nagano probably isn't gonna be waiting for the Jagdtiger. He's probably gonna go for something as soon as possible. There goes an incendiary artillery barrage from, of course, the urban defense, but not really having the best effect. And here comes another nice grenade assault, dealing a lot of damage. In fact, 2 grenade assaults dealing a ton of damage to that forward HQ. And right now, it seems like the Penals are trying to desperately defend these AT guns from the onslaught of the Volksgrenadiers. And overall, another couple of these grenade assaults in the church is going to go down. But remember, there's another building in the center that the Allies can use to their advantage. Although, after some point or another, this is 300 manpower and 60 fuel. So it's not exactly easy to replace. That's quite a lot of resources that you're sinking into it. And right now, the Lux is firing into the church and actually doing some damage. I didn't think that would do anything, but yeah, it turns out it does. Meantime, the Allies are finally pushing back up to the north. They've so far let the Germans just kind of keep this under their control, but overall, finally we have some response, and they might be able to get some resources for themselves. In the south, we have the opposite, with the Germans capturing Bavaria-Kenwerfer. So interestingly, they see that the Allies don't really have a lot of vehicles, and so they go for the Kenwerfer capturing technique. Of course, because it can cloak, it's got a little bit of an advantage when it comes to that. Right now, there is a tank of a battalion command for C. Blanco, and for Carrion, we have the tier 4. So tier 4 does mean that we can see a Katyusha soon enough, which would be a very good choice in this kind of environment. Also, a T-34-76 wouldn't hurt. it would definitely help against all the infantry, and it would be very versatile. So there's that. Also, Su-85 would be a nice preparation for further German armor later down the line. But I don't think that that would be a very smart idea to focus on getting an Su-85 so early. And here comes another incendiary barrage, which could actually set this building on fire and make it useless for the Allies. Looks like, yeah, the PTRS is going to get stolen by the Panzer Fusiliers. Panzer Fusiliers with the G43s and up to Vet3, they're going to be able to massacre the Penals, sending them back to Moscow. And that's not going to be the best thing, because here's also a nice grenade dealing a little bit of damage to the mortar squad, and another incendiary grenade dealing some damage to Penals. Penals going to have to retreat, and right now it looks like the mortar is going to be stolen as well. The second mortar is also in trouble, so not the best possible situation. It really needs to retreat right now, and yeah, finally we have the retreat. Not a lot of defenses up for the headquarters, which is going to get once more, I think, grenaded and finally destroyed. We do have a propaganda artillery trying to at least pin or force back these infantry squads. It is kind of working, but not working enough. So there goes the Ford HQ. Oh no, survives with like a tiny sliver of health, which is kind of lucky, but any grenade at this point is going to do it, and he actually uses the infiltration grenade assault. I feel like that was not the best use of the infiltration grenade assault, because it's got like a 150, just 120 second cooldown. Anyway, so that structure which held the Allied line together for basically the last 10 minutes is now gone. And the Allies are going to need to find some kind of replacement. We do have a T-34-76 coming in for Carrion, and Blanco is still kind of teetering along the edge of the Tank Battalion Command. Not really sure whether or not he wants to get anything out of it. At this point, if I was him, I would try to tick up to Tier 4, try to get some Tier 4 units out. Of course, they wouldn't be the best kind of Tier 4 units. He's only in the Urban Defense Doctrine, so he can't really supplement them with anything else. But I feel like if he... Yeah, there goes another one. Yeah, so the building did burn down again. So he cannot really go for any other forward HQs. I mean, he can try to go for this one. I guess this one would be okay. Or this one. But overall, yeah, they're going to be in pretty slanted positions, not really able to provide as much influence along the battlefield as the Church was able to do. And right now, the T-34-76 is in trouble. It does manage to get a very nice wipe off of those Volksgrenadiers, but it's in the face of a Rakan River, and right now there is a P4 on the field for Nagano. That is definitely a good choice. It's going to be useful against both the infantry and the medium armor. So overall, not the best possible situation to be in for the Allies. They're a little bit behind right now when it comes to the units that are actually on the field. Of course, 4 Pinos from Z Blanco, while they are going to be a solid infantry corps, they're not going to really be able to do all too much if the Luke's gets more veterancy. They're not going to be able to do anything against the Panzer IV. There goes a mine. So still good mine placement from both of these. Well, maybe just from Carrion, but maybe from both of the Allied players. And at this point, we have actually a bit of a bait. So we knew that the Luke's was actually taking damage from the mines. So the T-34 comes in to try to finish it off. But there's a Panzer IV in the area. And the Panzer IV almost takes out the T-34. Only a couple more shots left in its HP bar. Thankfully, this 80 gun was able to cover its retreat. At this point, it looks like yeah, the Panzer Fusiliers are getting insanely vetted up. The Allies need to do something about these guys, and that something might be the mortar. That's definitely not the worst idea, but still, if these Panzer Fusiliers are allowed to get into like Vet 5 region with the G43s, they're gonna be killing machines, and they're gonna make all the Penals basically worthless. And that's kind of where the Maxim machine gun comes in, although the Maxim machine gun is doing God knows what. So not the best possible positioning for the machine gun right in the face of the tank, but at least it's going to be able to retreat back to safety. This gun is going to be able to easily provide security for the German or Allied infantry against Panzer IV. Panzer IV are going to be forced to retreat. We have some more pushing along the lines of the central north area for the Allies. Going to be able to recapture this VP, which right now is kind of desperately needed because there are 273 VPs as opposed to 397 for the Germans. The Germans, in the meantime, are capturing the south, and the Germans are going to be able to hold the south a lot better than the Allies can hold the center, in my opinion, because the center is going to be under the watchful eye of the Panzer IV most likely. And there's a Sure Panzer headquarters right next for the the Axis, and Kirov is floating a heck of a lot of resources. At this point, I feel like, yeah, he does not have a Sure Panzer headquarters. He never went for that, but he is going for a truck right now. So he might be going for a KT instead of a Command Panther. Or he might be going for both. Can you even go for both? I'm fairly certain you can. Or maybe you cannot. They just change these things around all the time. So we do have the Command Panther unlock, and it's going to get slowed down by the truck as it approaches. So the Command Panther, of course, going to be providing some very nice support to the Panzer IV Ausf. And, of course, very, very strong anti-vehicle capabilities. Right now, oh, this vet free is going to go down. Oh, no, thankfully, this unit gets suppressed by the Maxim. That's, again, the Maxim's usefulness. And there goes the Lukes, finally, to the T-34-76. Finally fulfilling its intended purposes. However, there's a Command Panther on the field, so the T-34 is going to have to retreat as quickly as possible from that unit. And right now, there's a Katyusha on the field, which got 3 kills in the first barrage. Not sure where. Didn't really get too much of an impact either when it comes to the experience, so definitely not the best possible first barrage. And right now, the Allies do have a triple cap, but it's not going to last very long. We have a push going along in the south and push going along in the center. With the tanks, he's going to be able to force away that stolen MG, and then the Command Panther, which hasn't upgraded the pinto-mounted machine gun, actually, so it's going to be fairly useless against this M19 Maxim, 1910 Maxim. And yeah, it's going to do a little bit of damage and eventually force it back along with the support of the Panzer IV. So all the MGs for Carrion going to be forced back to base. He's got 2 T-34-76s. At this point, definitely a Su-85 might have been a better choice than a second T-34, but he maybe didn't know about the Command Panther yet when the T-34 came along. Because he needs some kind of way to deal with these tanks at longer ranges, and he needs the extra bit of penetration for the Su-85. Right now, T-34-85s would be great, but he does not have a T-34-85 doctrine selected. Right now, here comes a incendiary artillery barrage, but that might be a bad choice because there's also friendly troops in the area. So there goes one of the penals, and the second penal is in a bad shape. It might get chased down and destroyed by the Panzer IV. The Panzer IV does have the pinto-mounted machine gun and that 75mm main gun. It does not miss, but the last possible moment, another penal squad comes in from the flank and kind of tempts the Panzer IV into come, I will scepter charge you, and the Panzer IV wants none of that. So we have, interestingly enough, an Il-2 Sturmovik attack being called down in the south. Okay against infantry, pretty worthless against vehicles. Not really quite sure what it's going to try to do. I mean, it's a lot of munitions, 180, that I think would have been better spent on mines, demo charges, and other utilities. But in the meantime, you see a very, very balanced force coming in from Carrion. He's going to be able to capture the southern portion of the map and pretty much hold it with the AT guns and the machine guns. So this is definitely his advantage when it comes to unit composition. He's got the tier 2 back tech, which is fucking crucial. Can't really you know, underscore it enough. It's like so very, very important to get that tier 2, because without the ET gun, you're going to be worthless, especially if your strategy is to spam out those T-34s, which it seems to be. You're going to get the flexibility out of the T-34s, although not really a lot of stopping power, so you need to complement this with the anti-tank guns right now and hope for the best. At this point, it looks like the Fox-Grenadiers are going to get forced away, as you can see, by the T-34s, so they can kind of support each other. T-34s can work against the infantry, and this Panzer IV just kind of peeked around in the wrong neighborhood, although very luckily the T-34s bounce all the first shots off on the Panzer IV, and one of the T-34s goes down thanks to the support of the Command Panther. And it looks like, yeah, not a lot of retaliation is going to be had from the Allies because they can't really go ahead and push in right now. We do have a Zis free field gun still in the area, but not a lot of allies. If the Panzer IV, of course, wakes up along with the Command Panther and they can provide a coordinated push along with the infantry, then I don't think the Allies are going to be able to resist down south, even with the better unit composition of Carrion. Right now, here comes a marked vehicle on the T-34 from the Command Panther. Bad move if they didn't plan on, you know, following it up. And right now the Katusha firing another salvo and missing completely. So overall, that investment's not really paying off. C Blanco, however, does have a lot of resources in the bank, so he might be going for a Su-85. And in the north, the Su-85 is going to be a little bit better than in the south. There's less buildings, less line of sight obstructions, and less, just in general, objects that can cover a flanking force. For example, as you can see down here, all these streets, all these narrow walls, buildings, they can definitely hurt the ability of something like a command, not a command Panther, Su-85 to do this job. And there goes another penal squad in the north. What? Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't chase that, then I don't know. And yeah, it looks like with the support of the Bracken River, that P4 is gonna be safe and sound. Overall, yeah, it still looks pretty good for the Germans. If they can keep their heavier units alive, if they can use them correctly, and if they can inflict some losses on these T-34s, then the Allies are really not going to be able to recover it quite as well. But if the T-34s can overwhelm the German units piecemeal and start to cause a lot of casualties that way, and crucially destroy either the P4 or the Command Panther, then things can turn around very, very quickly. So while the Germans are in a bit of a you know, easier spot, they're not basically the winners yet. Still quite a lot of room for the Allies to come back along. And yeah, it doesn't really seem like, so we do have a Su-85. It doesn't really seem like Karin's changing his strategy a lot. It's working, so he's not going to fix it. And right now, he does have, crucially, a couple of engineer squads. That's going to help putting his T-34s back onto shape. He does not have in his doctrine any other ways in which he can repair his vehicles. No self-repair, no repair stations, and no constant repair. So he's not going to be in the best possible position to keep his massive T-34 horde in good conditions. But if he can use those engineers basically sparingly and keep them around for the repairs, they're going to be fine. Big engagement coming along. We have a Stuka barrage. Where did the Stuka come from? So Kirov has rebuilt his mechanized regiment, and he went for a Stuka, which could have been very devastating, but only got 5 kills. And the T-34s have been able to push away all the German infantry, crucially, so that means that the Panther itself does not really have a lot of a reason to stay around, because it's gonna basically just get swarmed by the Allied infantry and gets engine damaged. And yeah, it seems like the T-34s are very, very bravely pushing up. They're gonna eat some damage for their troubles with the coordinated fire from the Command Panther. We do have the 2 T-34s still pushing along, and that's probably a bad idea, so they do realize this, and they're not gonna push along. But they can try to destroy this mechanized regiment. Probably this Raken River is enough to repel them. Oh, with the AT gun, no, though. So with the AT gun, nice push from Carrion. The AT gun is also going to provide a bit of security against the Panther when the Panther inevitably comes in for a counterattack. And yeah, the AT gun is going to be able to force this guy away, along with the Su-85. So lots of damage being forced on the Panther, and Veterans 2 not going to be enough to save it. So right now, of course, the mechanized regiment is going to go down from the fire of the Su-85 plus the AT gun. And there it goes. Useless repairs coming in along at the last second, way too late. And right now, these Penals are going to want to retreat out of dodge as quickly as possible. And the Il-2 Sturmovik strike was actually destroyed by the flak-based defenses. So overall, once again, not really the best use of 180 munitions, especially when you actually control your side of the map. Because when you're on the back foot, of course, you can try to use your airstrikes to try to push along and try to get some territory. But when you control a lot of territory, then having mines to defend that territory and demo charges to wipe out enemy units trying to capture your points might just be a little bit better. Right now, another Katyusha barrage in the center. Once again, not really doing too much. Up to 8 kills, so it did do something at some point. Probably killed a few guys here and there, but overall, not the best possible usage of the Katyusha. However, Blanco definitely providing a lot of good support with that Su-85, and right now this T-34 is in a bad spot. Takes a Panzerfaust from all these Volksgrenadiers that are surrounding it, and there's a Panther actually from Ruka Nogano, and that Panther is going to be able to basically destroy the T-34-76. Although the T-34-76 might just be able to escape with its life. No. Command Panther comes in and finishes off. But as one goes down, another will take its place. So the Soviet T-34 spam machine still kind of working, but that was the veteran T-34, so it's not going to be easy to replace that. And well, Carrion, despite the losses, is still doing quite well. He's got the control over the south part of the map. Right now, it seems like this Panther being in the field is a bit of a problem for the Allies. The Panther is going to chase down this T-34. T-34 misses its shot, and I'm guessing that this T-34 is going to very, very quickly join Comrade Stalin in the grave. Is it going to? Yep. And you know, the Panther's in a very interesting position. If it was brave enough, it could try to take out this Katyusha and try to go hunting for it. Of course, the Panther is quite good at hunting Katyushas. But with the kind of HP levels that we're talking about, I think this Panther kind of just wants to go back home for a nice cold beer. And getting some repairs, of course. Right now, it's in not the best possible shape. And right now, of course, the center is under the control of the Germans, but only temporarily. There's actually a machine gun that the Germans could recapture, which would be very, very helpful in dealing with Allied infantry attempts at capturing the center, so that would be quite good to have. And also, it would be good positioned in this building, actually, to cover the north, because in the north, we haven't seen as much usage of vehicles. Although, with the Allies going for so many T-34-76s, just lone machine guns are quite a dangerous thing, because they can just come in with the T-34s and destroy them. And overall, we're still at half of the game length, so there's going to be quite a bit more to go around. And I'm actually going to take a slight break because I need some water, so I'll see you in a couple. Okay, I am back, and let's get quickly going again. Okay, so Katyusha, another barrage, not really having the best possible effect, in fact almost taking out some Allied troops. In the south we have another sort of holding force doing quite well, and another T-34-76 is going to be coming out for Carrion. So we have the T-34 spam of democracy going to be able to do quite well against the one lonesome Panther that Kirov has gone for. Kirov is still kind of refusing to buy more Kenworthers, and that's really it's really kind of a problem. What the hell is this? Assault artillery. Well, that's another way to waste 200 munitions. And right now the T-34 Horde is around the church, and it's in a very bad spot. So it's flanked by the Command Panther, and the Command Panther manages to face its frontal armor up against them, which means that they are not going to really have that much of an effect. The AT gun gets stolen by... Ooh, something just exploded. The AT gun gets stolen by some Volksgrenadiers, but the Volksgrenadiers manning the AT gun are going to be quickly dispatched by the T-34s. The T-34s, however, are not in the best possible way, as they're all facing the rear armor towards the Panther, and the Panther's having free shots at them. The Panther does run away once the airstrike pulls away all the infantry support, so that's all okay. I wonder what brewed up here, because I heard the like sound, and oh, it was a Panther. So very good job, I'm guessing, from the Su-85 and the T-34-76 at destroying that Panther. So Nagano right now is actually without vehicles completely, because he had lost earlier that Panzer IV, and now he's lost his Panther. So he's actually in a very, very bleak spot when it comes to both armor. Well, actually no, with infantry he's doing very well. He's got those 3 vetted up Panzer Fusiliers. Those are very, very strong, and they can easily deal with the 4 Penals that Blanco is sporting. But you know, with the Katyusha on the field, with the T-34-76s, Panzer Fusiliers aren't going to be enough, and Nagano knows this, and he's going for a Kenworth to support his infantry. He's already got one, but going for another one is going to be providing a lot more support than just one. So now the T-34 Hordes are going along in the center, and we have a nice Katyusha barrage to support them. However, with the Stuka is going to be firing back at the T-34s, doing some damage, and getting combat promotion. So overall, not the worst possible barrage. He's going to get something out of it. And right now, the Su-85 is going to cover the retreat of the T-34s, but the T-34s get perhaps a little bit too close to some Volksgrenadiers, which nicely flanked along the south, and managed to get a nice bit of damaged engine and even a destroyed gun on one of these. So overall, lack of allied infantry in the area to support, this could be potentially dangerous. But there goes another one of these Volksgrenadier squads going down, and also the Rakenwerfer is a little bit too far up, so this D-34 is definitely going to... It should have gone down, but it might survive because the Command Panther is going to want to stick around with all this allied infantry in the area. And it looks like, yeah, basically the Allies are going to keep everything somehow, and the Axis did lose a couple of squads in that engagement, so overall a victory for the Allies. However, the map control situation is still going in the favor of the Germans. We have another attempt at holding the center, which is going to be a lot more successful than the other ones because now we have some AT gun in support, and that's going to be all the difference. I mean, let us say if the Penals don't murder it, and they are murdering it, like literally murdering it. This guy is not fighting back at all, so it's murder. And okay, it's gonna be able to escape thanks to these Panzer Fusiliers. Panzer Fusiliers up to 46 kills. This is pretty much the strength of this unit. And once again, the Incendiary Barrage being a little bit of a team killer, falling straight along the heads of the Penals. So yeah, not the best possible outcome if you're a Penal Battalion member. And yeah, the T-34 is still holding the south. We have another Penal coming in from Carrion. Interesting, so he's lost one of his Penals and now he's replaced it. I mean, sure, that kind of works. And yeah, he's got still that very, very balanced force. Right now though, with T-34s, 4 of them on the field, he's gonna be struggling a lot more to keep them repaired, even with, of course, the the Stuka coming in and every once in a while providing some destruction through repair efforts. So overall, not the best possible situation to be in if you're Karen, because he also does not have enough pop cap to go for any more engineers. So he's basically tapped out on his options. He's reached his peak. So at this point, he needs to try to push his luck and try to get some good engagements off and get a lot of territory back for himself and for his ally, because he's not going to be getting any stronger if he sits back and keeps his units alive and, you know, just tries to defend what he's got. He needs to, you know, charge up and take the initiative, because otherwise all this isn't going to be all that useful once something like a Yati comes along the field, or Kirov, you know, finally gets some other units other than a Command Panther. I'm not sure what Kirov is doing right now, but he is going to go for a supply half-track. So he might be going for yet another mechanized regiment. At this point, if I was him, I would just build my stuff in the base. He's already lost way too much by just sitting it outside in potentially dangerous areas, potentially vulnerable areas. And right now we have a Volksgrenadier, not going to die from the satchel charge, and some more. Oh, actually, a Volksgrenadier is still alive for Nagano, so that's definitely quite good. The vet-free Penals, vet-free Panzer Fusilier is going to go down to the Penals. Wow, that's actually surprising. I didn't expect that to happen. That's a pretty big loss. That was the least vetted Panzer Fusilier, but still, it was a vetted Panzer Fusilier nonetheless. Those units are very, very strong. Right now, the SPT hoarding Penals aren't going to have the best of times against the G43s of the Panzer Fusiliers at long range, but there are twice as many Penals as there are Panzer Fusiliers, and if the Penals can get into close range, as you can see, yeah, they're going to massacre them. We have a second squad coming in, of course, with the sprint, the default sprint of the Panzer Fusiliers, but even they, staying along in the close range zone against the Penals, not going to have the best effect. 41 kills on this Penal, so definitely proving its mettle. And these guys should probably get promoted back into the real army. And yeah, Ooh, the Katyusha going down. How did the Katyusha go down? Where? How did that happen? I'm just frantically trying to search around. I'm thinking that it was the Stuka counter battery action, because I don't see its wreckage anywhere in the field. But if it had been destroyed in the back lines, then the wreckage wouldn't have been destroyed. So it must have been destroyed somewhere along the battle lines. And, well, in the end, the result is the same. There's no more Katyusha. Although, while the Katyusha hadn't done all that much, yeah, it's still bad for the Allies to lose it, and it's still great for the Germans that you don't have to deal with it anymore. And, yeah, unfortunately, they lose a Rakenwerfer, which is a very, very bad loss. If Blanco can come in and steal this Rakenwerfer, that's going to be great for the Allies. The T-34s are charging in at the Panther, but it's not going to really do all that much. However, what is going to do much is killing all the other units there aren't the Panther, forcing away the Rakenwerfer, forcing away perhaps some infantry in the center. Overall, just the Panther being there is going to be quite a bit of a nuisance for these T-34s. As you saw, they tried basically multiple times already to charge in directly at the Panther, and it's not working at all. So that's kind of why they need to flank. They need to be able to get the jump on the Panther, because not only the frontal armor of this thing is very, very good, and the T-34s are going to have trouble penning it if it's, of course, well faced. But at longer ranges, of course, the sort of lower armor penetration of the T-34 is going to be even more of a detriment to their chances of getting some nice hits on the Panther. So what they really need to do is not only flank it to get into the rear armor, but flank it so that they can get closer to it, and they can start inflicting damage right off the bat. Because with 4 T-34s, if the T-34s can get in a nice volley before the Panther has a chance to react, then the Panther is going to be below half HP. So that's going to be quite a bad thing to recover from if you're facing 4 T-34s at once. Right now, it just generally looks like we have a bit of a stalemate for the center. Yeah, pretty much under German control, but a bit of a stalemate overall. Nobody can really get the upper hand. It's still a fluid situation in the north, and the Allies control the south. So overall, the Allies are in a better position than they were earlier, and probably they're in a better position overall, considering just how well Carrion is sort of providing that rock solid. Wait, what are you doing? No, don't destroy the Rakenwerfer. Take the Rakenwerfer. You have 3 penal squads in the area. They can steal the Rakenwerfer, and they can do very well at it. Nice pure propaganda artillery gonna actually push back both the Rakenwerfer and the infantry in the area, thus paving the way for a big Allied assault. However, they're in a bad spot. They're basically being concaved into a very, very, very strong little German position. With the Schwer Panzer headquarters supporting, the infantry isn't going to be able to do all too much. And with 2 Panthers in the area, the T-34s are going to have to limp back to get prepared. Although they are still managing to get some damage off on the German troops in the area. The Germans are floating quite a bit of resources, so they can replace these units if they lose them. But definitely not the best possible spot to be pushed back to your base and base camp by some T-34s. Although this AT gun's in a bad way, it's gonna go down to the Panzer Fusiliers, with the G43s. Even at long range, they have a very, very strong damage, but they don't chase. Why do they not chase? Because they're trying to take out these penals? I don't think that that's a very worth it thing when there's an AT gun escaping. The AT gun's a much better target than the penals. Much more important to the war effort. And right now, the 2 Panthers are going to be able to provide that backbone anti-tank defense that's going to be able to deal with all the T-34 spam. And this T-34 isn't long for this world. Definitely a bit of a mismicro there. Veterancy free, not going to save it when the coordinated fire goes down from the Command Panther. Crucially, all these T-34s are actually feeding the Command Panther a heck of a lot of experience. So the Command Panther is actually up to almost Vet 4. This is incredibly, incredibly scary because at Vet 5, the command aura affects all units and not just vehicles. And at that point, the Command Panther basically becomes a massive I win unit. And yeah, there's not going to be much that the Allies are going to be able to do about a Veterancy 5 Command Panther, especially if the Germans can fill up their ranks with other, vehicles, other units. Right now, we do have an Obersoldaten on the field for Kirov, and he is special operations, so he's going to be able to upgrade those with the STGs or the LMG at will. Considering, however, the kind of opposition that he is facing, I think the LMG is best, because it would be much better against the penals than the STGs, but that's just my opinion. And right now, Carrion is going for an SU-85, but unfortunately he has reached his pop cap, so he cannot actually get that vehicle on the field. Probably a smart move to go for a SU-85 right now, as we do have, finally, a KT on the field. So Nagano opting for the King Tiger instead of the Jag Tiger. And that's probably a good choice, considering how much more useful it is versus enemy infantry. And with the fact that there's so many T-34s on the field, the T-34s could easily outflank that Jag Tiger once the Panthers were somehow out of the way. And as it stands, Yeah, we're gonna be once again seeing some more German successes, and it's pretty much bound to happen with the King Tiger on the field, with all the Panthers. As you can see, the Panthers just not caring at all about the T-34s. Now, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that, hold on, let's just pause it very quickly. All the German units are here in the center, and look at the south. It's pretty much just empty. So what if the T-34s were able to get around, perhaps through here, push back into basically this area, and come along from the rear? They would be able to destroy the Shukatsufus. They would be able to get quite a lot more damage off on the Panthers because of all the reasons I already stated than they are right now. So I'm not quite sure as to why Carrion isn't simply taking his T-34s on a nice flank. Sure, he might be more prone to losing one or more of them because you never know what's going to be around in these areas. There might be a waiting enemy Panzerfaust unit that's going to snare you. There might be a mine. There might be something. There might be Rakenwerf is covering the area. But still, I think it would be worth it to at least try. And you have two mine super engineers. One of them can be sent along to scout, not to capture the point because that would reveal their position, but to scout, to see if there's any mines, to see if there's any hidden Rakenwerfers, and then you can follow that up with a T-34 push into the flank of these Panthers and trying to take out the Stuka as well, which would be a lot more effective than just kind of headbutting along the front of the Panthers, which of course isn't really providing any results. In fact, it's very, very counterproductive right now because the Panther is getting experience from this. This is kind of my rant. Although, of course, Carrion is playing very, very well right now, so he's definitely got the right idea as to what to do. It's just, you know, he needs to get a little bit of extra grip on the execution, probably. I don't know. Now he has a Su-85, he's going to be in a better position to deal with the Panthers from the front. With the T-34s to soak up the damage and the Su-85 to deal the damage in the rear, he might have a little bit more of an advantage. And right now, yeah, we have 5 penals coming in from C. Blanco. I think this is a big, big mistake to go with so many penals. It's not really going to be all that useful, especially now that this KT is on the field. I mean, there might be an attempt at a mass satchel charge, which we might see right now. So the 49 kill penal, not really able to get the satchel charge off in time, unfortunately, even though they were plenty in range. And right now the KT is providing a massive, massive boon to the allies. They're now getting a lot of kills off on those penals, and the penals are going to be bleeding the manpower down for C. Blanco. C. Blanco is fleeing quite a lot of resources. He could be going for some Su-85s of his own. He does have one, which is up to Rick Free, but that's the one he got, like, what, 12 minutes ago? Something like it? Units, Su-85 tank destroyer construction, sorry. C. Blanco, Su-85 tank destroyer, 20 minutes ago he got that Su-85. He should definitely have another one by this point, especially considering that the Germans are now much, much stronger when it comes to vehicles. And overall, oh, so finally another, he tried to get a bit of a flank off on the KT, but it didn't really provide any results. And right now the Su-85 is going to be very, very strong against the KT because of that free. It's got so many bonuses to the penetration and the rate of fire. So at long range, the Su-85 is going to be able to keep that KT at bay mostly. The problem is for C. Blanco, the infantry / support weapons, because he does not have any support weapons, he cannot hold any of his points. And because he's only got penals, he can't really take the areas either. I mean, if the Panzer Fusiliers get a lot of good shots off those penals, especially with the support of the KT, are going to have no chances of actually succeeding in their assaults. And finally, in the south, we have a bit of a German push. So the south, which has been left to the devices of the Allies for the past, like, 17 minutes at least, is now finally being recaptured by the Germans, thanks to the support of these 2 Panthers. One of the Panthers, the command one, is pretty much low on HP, so it's in a pretty weak spot, especially because its flanks are very exposed. This entire area is empty of German troops. So if the T-34s wanted to, they could again go on an excellent flank, get behind them, destroy the Stukatsufus, and destroy the command Panther. But it's not happening. So the T-34s are squaring off against the Panthers at the front, trying to use their AT gun to good advantage with the veteran C2 that it's got. But the AT gun goes down to the incendiary grenade. One of the T-34s goes down to the Panthers. The second T-34 takes a coordinated fire to the face, and that's going to go down to the fire of the second Panther. and the two, or rather the other T-34 and the Su-85 are just able to provide a little tiny bit of support, but that's not enough. Because again, the Panthers' HP and armor is just so much more better than what the Allies can field. And again, if that had been a flank from those 3 T-34s, maybe he still would have lost the engagement, but he would have come out with at least 1 kill on the Panthers. I mean, in the end though, funnily enough, he's able to, you know, replace the losses of the T-34s, and he's gotten the terrain, he's gotten the ground. So, paradoxically, Carrion actually won the engagement. If he can keep these Panthers at bay in the base with the Su-85, and the infantry at bay with the T-34-76s, he's got the South, which is quite hilarious. I mean, I thought that he had badly lost the engagement, but it turns out he's actually won it, mostly because he's managed to force away Kirov's infantry. Kirov with 900 manpower really should be doing some more, you know, building of infantry. And right now, Blanco sees that the T-34 spam is kind of working for his ally, so he's going to go for T-34 spam of his own. Of course, the circumstances are a little bit different. I mean, Karen has a little bit more, once again, of a balanced force. He's got more support weapons around. Although he's lost his infantry, he could replace it. He could go for a lot more units, but he's not. So overall, the Allies are in a good spot. They just need to capitalize on this and get some good damage off. So the KT hasn't been able to do too much to push along the front line, but it does have 23 kills, so it's definitely doing something, almost up to vet 1. And with the support of that Katyusha being crucial, even though it's not getting a lot of kills, and the earlier one didn't get a lot of kills either, it's being very, very nice in sort of being a deterrent for the Axis not to capture points at crucial moments. So for example, if these Panzer Fusiliers were to come and capture a point, Katyusha fires on them. Doesn't really get a lot of kills, but at least forces them away. So it's doing a nice job. And yeah, overall, the fact that the Allies have been able to keep these 2 fuel points under their control throughout most of the mid-game is definitely coming along to bite at the Germans, as you can see, with all these T-34s being in the field. Although we have finally some good engagements coming in, so we have Vet 5 Command Panther. This is potentially very dangerous, especially if the Command Panther can be very, very conservative about its life. And yeah, so the KT pushing along in the north and the Command Panther pushing along the south. This is kind of a bit of a crucial mistake I think that the Germans are making. They're spreading out way too much and they're going their separate ways. To be fair, the Allies are doing the same, but the Allies are in a better position to start off with. For example, Nogano's only at 50 pop cap, and his opponent, C. Blanco's at 77. So overall, 2 engagements going on in the same, devastating Stuka barrage. 2 engagements going along at the same time in 2 different points of the map. Even though the Stuka did a lot of damage, the support weapons once again still alive and providing it that nice bit of rock solid base support that the Allies are basically desperately needing to keep their vehicles alive. Because if this AT gun wasn't here, the Panthers could try a bold move to destroy some of these T-34s. But with so many T-34s and with the support weapons being still active, the German infantry can't do too much. And so the Panthers can't do too much. And here comes a Ram. So there goes the Vet 5 Command Panther. Actually takes a damaged engine from the Ram, which is not as bad in some ways as the stun, but it's better in some others because it's not going to simply go away. And right now the T-34s are pushing in to get the killing shot, and they managed to do so. And finally they have the rear of the other Panther, although the T-34 that was in the rear takes a damaged gun. We could see the death of the last of the Panthers, but the rest of the T-34s are very, very low on HP. So that's kind of sad, and there's yet another Command Panther that's instantly replaced by Kirov. So of course, the remaining T-34s are going to be scared away by the Command Panther. Although, with the Su-85 being on the field, the Su-85 is already up to threat 3. Yeah, it's going very, very well. Although a brief triple cap was destroying the VP reserves of the Allies, we do see a little bit of a resurgence. Interestingly enough, this T-34 is not up to vet 1, so it cannot use secure mode. That's very, very bad. The Allies absolutely need to send someone to capture this north, and the center is theirs. So the south, of course, being very, very firmly in the hands of the T-34 Horde. Yeah, so the situation isn't all that bad for the Allies, but I'm just thinking that, ooh, very nice usage actually of breakthrough tactics. I'm thinking that the Germans might just take it with VPs, because look at this. This is kind of an unbalanced composition from Carrion now. He's got so many T-34s, and no units that can actually repair them. He's got 3 engineers, but one of them is still back at base. So his T-34s are often going to be in a bad shape, and the Command Panther is finally coming along in the center to support his allies. So the Germans are actually in a good position when it comes to VPs. They're 2 to 1. And C. Blanco does not have enough infantry nor enough support weapons to take and hold his positions. He does have some T-34s, and finally he's going to be able to capture the north. But overall, not the best position to be in for the Allies. The Allies at this point need to get a basically decisive engagement with their very, very superior armor. Once they repair all their tanks, they can try to swarm at the remaining Germans and destroy them in one giant cauldron. But if they can't do that, then the Germans are just going to win by VPs, because locally they're going to be able to be superior with their stronger one-on-one fighting units. And the Germans are actually pushing along in a very, very potentially dangerous push without that much infantry support. So the Su-85 right now is in trouble because it's very, very close to the KT. But if it retreats, it's going to be at a very, very good position to plink away at this tank and force it away. One of the T-34s goes down from the Panther push, however, so it's starting off well, and now finally we see a flank from the T-34s. 2 T-34 76s getting behind the KT, and unfortunately the Allies don't have a marked vehicle, but getting into the rear of this beast is going to definitely be effective. We have some satchel charges going to be coming along with from the Penals. No? Why? Why no satchel charges? Satchel charges right now will be very effective, but here comes the Su-85 with vet free, and one of the T-34s of course goes down to the Panthers. In fact, both of the T-34s are in trouble, but there's way too many Allied tanks in the area, and there goes the KT, there goes the KT, that was pretty much the most important unit on the field. There goes 2 satchel charges on the normal Panther, bringing it down to almost no HP, and going to be finished off by the Su-85 at vet free. Right now, there's still more T-34s that are just being repaired right now, or not being repaired for Carrion. So although the engagement definitely goes in the favor of the Allies, it remains to be seen whether or not they can actually capitalize on this. The Command Panther is still around, and it's still going to be annoying for the Allies to deal with, and the Allies are down to 56 VPs. So the Germans still keeping control over the center is actually quite crucial, because while they lost most of their combat power, if the Allies just don't push into the areas, they don't repair their vehicles, they don't push in, and they don't get these points, they're going to lose the game by VPs. They need to push in at this point. These 2 damaged T-34s, they need to push them up north along with some other units. They can't afford to wait for them to be repaired, because the King Tiger is dead. So most of Nogano at this point is off the field. Nogano doesn't have anything. So at this point, a couple of T-34s can be very, very effective. This Panzer Fusilier isn't going to be able to stand up to a couple of T-34s no matter what. And right now, yeah, the Allies need to push in their damaged tanks and stem this bleeding. Because at this point, if they do not do that, then it's not going to go well for them. More T-34s being pushed in by Carrion. And Carrion, once again, kind of neglecting the flank and going along the center and along the front again. Frontal axis of enemy forces. So the enemies have a very, very, very clear line of sight on these T-34s. T-34s don't really have the best of chances of penetrating this Command Panther from the front. And there's a huge flank in the south that's not being exploited. That's completely open for the Germans. If Allied infantry and vehicles were to pour through that, then it would be fairly bad for them. But finally, we have the T-34s coming along in force and putting an end to this German infantry domination over the center. The Command Panther is going to try to do something about it. With 3 T-34s, though, it's going to be in a bad spot. Only 31 points left for the Allies. Right now, this T-34 has secure mode. It can cap this northern VP, and I'm not sure why it's not doing it. It's going to leave the job to the Penals, although the Penals are going to be in a bad spot due to the Panzer Fusiliers in the house, so they might go down. Another T-34, speaking of going down, explodes into flames in the center, but the T-34s are actually escorting an AT gun, and the AT gun is able to neutralize the center, so no more bleeding for the Allies, and also they're capturing the north. And finally, we have a flank coming in from these 2 T-34s, but they're not pushing it in, they're actually just taking out the Schwer Panzer headquarters, which is an okay move, but at this point they need to take out the units and not the buildings. It's too late to take out the buildings. At this point we need the units to go down, and right now the units are in the center and they are for the Germans. Another KT is on the field and the Germans are able to capture the center. The Allies need to push in some kind of infantry or a capping unit to recap this center, but they don't have anything. All their T-34s are very, very heavily damaged. The King Tiger also takes a baiting though, however, and yeah, right now the problem seems to be that the Axis seem to have the infantry superiority over the center, ironically enough, although the Allies have recaptured the north, so that's going well for them. Once again, a piecemeal T-34 coming in to try to distract the Germans. Pretty good move, actually. Going to force away these, or rather force to, reposition these Raketenwerfers. And the Command Panzer is actually quite alone in the area because the KT went back to repair. I think that's a mistake. I think the KT should have been staying in the center. Finally, a nice flank from these T-34s. You're going to be forcing away all the German units. This is just, again, the strength of flanking. Like, look at this. The Germans were were forced to pull away all of their units just by the threat of 2 T-34-76s pushing along their flank. Imagine if these 4 T-34s, or rather 3 T-34s plus a 4th one, were able to get a good flank off. Yeah, that would be so great. But let's, stop dissing on the Allies and start dissing on the Germans. There's 3 Obersoldaten from Kirov, and the south still is basically just left to its devices with only 2 MGs covering it. Again, a decent flank from the Obers from, like, perhaps this area into here. They might be able to take out the MGs, and they might be able to take the VP in the south, or at least force the Allies to get some more points down there. And finally, some fear propaganda artillery coming along in a very, very important manner, taking out actually the MG, forcing the MG to retreat, and that's good, because if the Allied infantry comes in, that MG would have been very, very strong. But it's not looking good for the Allies overall, so the Raketenwerfer push finally supported by infantry. Infantry and Raketenwerfer is going to be able to take out the T-34s in the north, or at least force them back. And the VP here is not going to be held by the Allies for much longer. Also, the VP in the center is being taken and held by the Germans, though they already had the point, so they're holding it strong. T-34 tried to come in with the secure mode to capture it, but it kind of failed. In the north, yeah, again, there's just not enough of a Allied presence to keep this VP under their control. We have another attempt in the center, desperate at this point with the Penals, newly built by Carrion. They might be able to at least force... Ooh, excellent shot from the T-34. Gonna destroy a Obersoldaten squad and a Volksgrenadier going down as well. So the AT gun line from the Germans is holding up along the T-34s, but finally we have a neutralized VP in the center, so the Allies are basically safe for now, relatively. Here comes a lot of artillery fire from something. The Command Panther is going to go down, so overall the line for the Allies is actually holding quite well, and it's doing well with a lot of Penals coming along the center. Finally, we have some captures on these AT guns, and they're going to be able to push back the German armor. So the Allies taking the center and holding it. Most likely holding it, at least. So the KT is going to try to do something, but with this Raketenwerfer in the field and with the incredible line of steel that the Allies are bringing up, they're not going to be able to do all too much. Right now we have another push coming along in the north with 2 T-34s. This T-34 should definitely use secure mode to try to recapture this point, but it's going to focus on destroying the Raketenwerfer first. And that's not the worst idea, because here comes some engineers that are going to be able to capture the area. And T-34, Vet-3 Su-85 goes down to the Schwer Panzer headquarters and a Vet-5 Raketenwerfer. But overall, the Axis tanks are basically absent from the field. There's another flank coming in, and right now it seems like these German units are trying to capture the south. But if the T-34 can come in with secure mode, it's going to be able to stop the cap. And that's going to be crucial, because here comes the T-34s in the north, destroying the KT. There it goes. 2,000 XP for that T-34. That's going to be a hero of the motherland. And this T-34 is not activating secure mode. It's just letting the Axis capture the point, which is kind of a mistake. I think at this point, just kind of holding this cap still is going to be better, because if they can prevent the Germans from recapturing it fully, yes, it does. Now they do have a double cap on the Germans, so every 3 seconds, 2 points are going to tick down for the Germans. So at this point, we're going to see basically in about a minute the Germans lose the game. And the north seems to be fairly securely held by the Allies. The center is definitely securely held by the Allies. The Stuka is still alive, and it's got a barrage ready, so it needs to be used somewhere, and that somewhere will be the center, in my opinion. So if these T-34s can hold the center, I'm pretty sure that the south is going to fall along as well for the Allies. Although the Allies are finally going to be forced away The T-34 is not able to hold the cap with the Command Panther being in the area. However, is it going to be useful? Maybe. The center is being recaptured by these units, but these units are taking a lot of fire from this T-34, so I'm calling it for the Allies at this point. I think that the Axis just don't have enough units to recapture the center and hold it. And definitely they don't have enough to capture the north, so the double cap is going to hold strong for the Allies, and finally a counterattack from the rest of the armored force is going to be able to capture the south. So the wall of steel coming along to be once again capturing the south. This is really the strength of the T-34, is how useful they are with Vet 1 is just very, very, very much underestimated in my opinion, because with that secure mode, they can basically act as infantry, and you can unbalance your forces more towards armor than towards infantry. You don't really need to keep all that many infantry units around to be able to win the game as allies if you have T-34s in, Veterancy 1 or above. And at this point, yeah, if this T-34 just kind of holds the point here, although it's not going to with the Veterancy 5, or Kenwerfer, yeah, south is secure, north is secure, the Allies win, I think. So what I think the Germans could have done differently, what do I think the Germans could have done differently? Well, Kirov definitely pushed in along, I think, a little bit too hard on the Command Panthers. But other than that, he played quite well. Nagano also did quite well with the KTs, but at some point, I feel like both German players could have gone for more Raketenwerfers, because essentially what the Allies did was they used superior numbers to take out the Axis tanks. And if there had been more superior numbers on the field for the Germans in the form of AT guns, which in the end, again, were captured, some of them, but they might have been able to at least hold the Allies at bay a little more. And overall, I feel like the biggest mistake that the Germans made was just playing 2 1v1s. While the Allies kind of did that also, kind of, not as much. I mean, we did have some good interventions at the last minute from either player to help out the other. But yeah, again, if they had been a little more coordinated, the Vet 5 Command Panther plus the KT plus the Panzer Fusiliers would have been a pretty much unstoppable force for our German players. So that's kind of what I think. I think that they should have just been able to work together a little bit more than they did in the end. But yeah, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Well played to both teams. As always, if you enjoyed, leave a like down in the bottom. If you didn't, drop a dislike. And I'll see you soon.